When time itself had no count, when there was neither day nor night, there was only the void, and within that void echoed a single sound, Om. From that sound emerged a divine power, Adi Parashakti, and from that power manifested Mahadev, the Lord of destruction and rebirth. Thus began the cycle of creation. The balance of life and death was established. But as the ages passed, the darkness of adharma began to swallow the light of dharma. The conflict between the devas and the asuras kept intensifying. Sometimes heaven trembled, sometimes the underworld roared. Each battle began to shake the very balance of the universe. The devas were the protectors of dharma, yet the asuras too were creations of Brahma. Their existence was also necessary so that balance could remain within creation. But when this balance began to break, Shiva made a decision. Now he needed a devotee such as this, one who could become a symbol of equality between dharma and adharma, one who could hold together the balance of creation through stability, devotion, and unwavering faith. And the energy of this divine thought flowed into the heart of a great ascetic in the lap of the Himalayas. He was Rishi Shilad. In the lap of the Himalayas, where only snow and silence reside, there lived the great ascetic Rishi Shilad. His life was a rare confluence of devotion, sacrifice, and wisdom. He desired neither wealth nor fame. His entire existence was dedicated to the worship of Shiva. He was a knower of the Vedas, yet deep within his heart lay an unfulfilled longing. He had attained everything except a child, a son who would carry forward his lineage, who would protect Dharma, and who would be a supreme devotee of Shiva. But he knew such a son could not be born through an ordinary birth. He could only be granted by Shiva's grace. And so he took a solemn vow. I shall please Mahadev himself. From him alone shall I ask for a son beyond death. For years he performed severe penance. At times he stood amid raging fire, chanting Shiva's name. At times he stood immersed in water, and at times beneath the open sky, without food or water. Years passed. Rishi Shilad saw neither day nor night. He continued to chant only one name, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. The fire of his penance reached even the heavens. The devas grew fearful. Who is this who is calling Shiva himself through devotion alone? The earth began to tremble, rivers stood still, and a divine radiance spread across the peaks of the Himalayas. Nature itself became a participant in his penance. Birds fell silent, the wind stood still, as if the universe itself was waiting. When will Bholenath himself appear?
Then came that moment when creation itself seemed to pause. The flames calmed, and from within them appeared Mahadev himself. His form was beyond description, a serpent around his neck, the moon upon his head, the Ganga flowing through his matted locks. In his 3 eyes shone a wondrous union of compassion and divine fury. Rishi Shilad opened his eyes, tears streamed from them. He fell to the ground and spoke, O Lord, years of penance have borne fruit. My eyes are blessed to behold your divine form. Shiva replied with deep affection, O great sage, your devotion has bound me. Speak, what is it that you desire? Rishi Shilad spoke, O Lord, my life is complete with knowledge, devotion, and peace. Yet there is one absence, a child. Grant me a son who is beyond death, who is devoted only to you, who is born to protect Dharma. Mahadev replied, O revered Rishi Shilad, your wish is not impossible. You shall receive a son born from a part of my own essence. He will not be mortal, but will become a symbol of immortality. My name shall reside within his very breath. He shall be the embodiment of stability, loyalty, and devotion. and he shall become my most beloved, Nandi." As Shiva vanished, an extraordinary peace spread across the earth. The penance of Rishi Shilad was complete, yet this was not the end. It was the beginning of a new age, for now was to be born a fragment of Shiva himself. One day, as Rishi Shilad was tilling the land near his hermitage, suddenly a radiant light burst forth from the earth. The ground trembled, and divine rays began to emerge from one spot. From within that light appeared a child, fair in complexion, his body glowing with a golden radiance. Upon his forehead was the Tripundra, and around his neck a small Rudraksha garland. The sage watched in awe. This was no ordinary child. He was the living manifestation of Shiva's grace. The devas showered flowers. The sound of conch shells echoed in the sky. A powerful divine aura spread in all directions. Rishi Shilad lifted the child into his arms, and tears flowed freely from his eyes. He said, "My child, you are not merely my son, you are truly a part of Shiva himself." An extraordinary peace filled the surroundings, as if all of nature had accepted this birth. Rishi Shilad then named the child. "Your name shall be Nandi." The word Nand means joy, bliss, and stability. Within your very name lies the essence of Shiva. You shall become the reflection of Shiva's heart. And thus was born the soul who would one day become the guardian of Kailash, the vehicle of Shiva, and the living symbol of devotion, Lord Nandi.
Time passed. The son of Shilad Muni, Nandi, entered childhood. Yet he was no ordinary child. He was a fragment of Shiva, and within him lay an ocean of knowledge. Rishi Shilad taught him the Vedas, Upanishads, Yoga, and Shastras. But what took other disciples years to understand, Nandi absorbed in a single hearing. The sage said, "My child, these are the hymns of the Rig Veda, which reveal the mysteries of creation." And Nandi memorized those hymns after hearing them just once. He was so accomplished in yogic practices that he could remain absorbed in deep meditation for hours. When he recited the Vedas, a divine fragrance spread through the air, as if the devas themselves were speaking through his tongue. Nandi's intellect was divine. He did not merely understand the scriptures, he perceived the hidden spiritual essence within them. He said, "Father, the Vedas are not just words, they are vibrations that keep the universe alive." Rishi Shilad was left astonished. For the wisdom he had gained through decades of penance, the child was experiencing effortlessly. Narada said, "O Devas, have you heard of that child, the one born on earth yet beyond death, whose intellect has astonished even the sages?" Indra asked in amazement, "Who is this child?" Narada replied, "He is the son of Rishi Shilad, Nandi. It is said that the radiance of Mahadev himself resides within his voice." When the devas beheld Nandi, their eyes filled with reverence. They said, "There is extraordinary radiance within this child. In the future, he shall become the most devoted servant at Shiva's feet." Indra said, "The radiance of this child surpasses even that of the devas. Go, test him. See whether any trace of ego resides within him." One day, as Nandi was performing a yajna with his father, suddenly a divine fragrance filled the air. The apsaras, Mitra and Varuna, descended there. With their arrival, the entire hermitage shone brightly. Smiling, they said, "Child Nandi, we have heard that you are a great ascetic and a learned one. Does our beauty not disturb you?" Nandi replied in a humble voice, "O celestial maidens, you are the adornment of God's creation.
Your beauty is boundless, but the one who steadies his gaze within no longer sees outer beauty, he perceives only the radiance of the soul. I meditate only upon the feet of my beloved Shiva. There is no attraction greater than him. Nandi's words left the apsaras speechless. Their test turned upon themselves, yet a faint sense of ego arose in their hearts. How can a mere child dismiss us as insignificant? Nandi further said, "You viewed the devotion of my Lord as a test. This itself is your transgression. I curse you. Until you are freed from this ego, you shall take birth upon the earth and purify your karma through devotion." The apsaras said, "Child, forgive us. We came only to test you." Nandi replied, "Forgiveness belongs to one who is a devotee of Shiva. Ego is momentary, but compassion alone is the true proof of devotion. Go, walk your path, and remember this: beauty remains incomplete until it is adorned with humility." From that day onward, even the devas bowed before Nandi's devotion. He was not only an ocean of knowledge, but also a source of compassion. And this is why Shiva accepted Nandi as both his gatekeeper and his divine vehicle. For the one who conquers ego alone is called a true devotee, Nandi. From childhood itself, only one feeling resided in Nandi's heart: I shall dedicate my entire life to the service of Shiva. He did not play like other children. Where other children were engaged in games, Nandi remained absorbed in meditation. Every morning he offered flowers at the Shiva linga, poured water, offered bilva leaves, and prayed, "O Mahadev, grant me the boon that I may always remain in your service." Days passed, years passed, and Nandi's meditation grew ever deeper. Upon snow-covered peaks, amid piercing icy winds, without food, he sat chanting only Om Namah Shivaya. The power of Nandi's penance became so intense that its energy reached even the realms of the devas. Devarshi Narada himself declared, "This child is no ordinary being. He is the living embodiment of devotion to Shiva." At last, Nandi's devotion pleased Mahadev. One day, upon that icy peak, before Nandi appeared a colossal pillar of light. It was no ordinary radiance, it was the very luminous form of Lord Mahadev Shiva himself. Shiva said, "Child Nandi, your devotion has pleased me. You are not merely my devotee, you are a fragment of my own heart." With tear-filled eyes, Nandi said, "O Lord, grant me only this boon, that I may forever remain at your feet. Your service, your protection, and your name alone shall be my life." Mahadev smiled and said, "So be it, child Nandi." Mahadev granted Nandi 3 divine boons, through which Nandi's identity became immortal across all creation. The first boon: you shall become the leader of my ganas. Every being, every force of Kailash shall obey your command. Your name shall be immortal as the Ganadyaksha. With folded hands and tear-filled eyes, Nandi replied, "O Lord, your command alone is my Dharma." The second boon: you shall become the gatekeeper of Kailash. Every devotee who comes seeking my darshan shall first bow to you. Only after understanding their devotion shall you present them before me. With these words of Mahadev, a divine radiance shimmered upon Nandi's face. He was no longer merely a devotee, He had become the protector of Kailash. The third boon, my child, you shall become my vehicle and my companion. Whenever I journey, you shall remain by my side. Seated upon you, I shall work for the welfare of creation. With these words, a radiant aura burst forth from Nandi's body. His form became even more divine, even more majestic. In his eyes dwelt the calm of devotion. Upon his face shone the radiance of love. Mahadev said, "Nandi, you are not mine alone. You are dear to every devotee who chants Om Namah Shivaya with faith." Nandi bowed his head in reverence and said, "O Lord, your command alone is my Dharma." From that day onward, Nandi was no longer just a devotee. He became Shiva's companion, servant, and protector. And even today, when someone enters a Shiva temple, they first whisper their wish into Nandi's ear, because they know Nandi is the one who carries every devotee's voice to Shiva.
After receiving Mahadev's 3 boons, a new radiance arose within Nandi. Such light burst forth from his body as if the sun itself had gathered its rays and merged into him. Shiva smiled and said, "My child Nandi, now your form shall no longer remain that of ordinary beings. You shall now exist in a form that embodies my power, devotion, and steadfast loyalty." Saying this, Mahadev raised his trident high. From the tip of the trident emerged a beam of divine light that struck directly upon Nandi's heart. In an instant, the sky thundered, the earth trembled, and light spread across the peaks of Kailash. Nandi's body began to transform slowly. His arms turned into horns, his form transformed into that of a divine bull, white like snow, his radiance glowing like molten gold. In his eyes was a union of compassion, strength, and deep devotion. Mahadev gently placed his hand upon Nandi and said, "From this moment you shall be known as Nandishwar, one whose mere darshan washes away all the sins of a devotee." At that very moment, flowers began to shower from the heavens. The devas proclaimed in unison, "Victory to Nandishwar! Victory to the Ganajaksha of Shiva!" From that day onward, this form of Nandi became a symbol of devotion and power across creation. Wherever Shiva resides, the presence of Nandi came to be considered essential. Before Shiva on Kailash, Nandi sits in serene stillness, as if the living embodiment of meditation, surrender, and love. Time passed. One day, in the realm of the Devas, there lived a maiden named Suyasha. She was the daughter of a great Brahma Rishi, moon-like in beauty, and at heart a supreme devotee of Shiva. Day and night, Suyasha meditated upon Shiva. In her chamber, she had installed a Shivalinga, before which she offered bilva leaves, flowers, and sacred Ganga water every day. But her father was displeased with her devotion. He said, "You are a rishi's daughter, of marriageable age. Your life is meant to become that of a householder, not that of an ascetic." Suyasha replied gently, "Respected father, I shall marry only one who is like Shiva, one in whom compassion, devotion, and Dharma reside." Her father grew angry and said, "There is none equal to Shiva." Suyasha smiled. "Then I shall perform penance and ask Shiva himself to grant me my life companion." She set forth toward the Himalayas.
harsh cold, icy winds, yet her devotion remained unwavering. For hours she remained absorbed in meditation, chanting only Om Namah Shivaya. After months of penance, one day a radiant light appeared, and Mahadev himself stood before her. Shiva said, "Child Suyasha, your devotion has pleased me. Tell me, what do you desire?" With folded hands, Suyasha said, "O Lord, I wish to marry one who is complete in devotion and loyalty, just like you." Shiva smiled. "So it be. Your marriage shall be with my beloved Ganajaksha, Nandi, the living embodiment of my devotion." On that day, Mount Kailash was adorned with flowers. Devas, sages, and apsaras, all were present. Shiva and Parvati themselves sat within the sacred pavilion. The marriage of Nandi and Suyasha was performed according to divine rites. The devas showered flowers, and the Gandharvas sang melodious songs. Mother Parvati said, "Suyasha, you are now not only Nandi's wife, but an inspiration for the devotion of all devotees." Shiva said, "And Nandi, with you this love shall now forever remain, a symbol of both service and devotion." Nandi replied humbly, "O Lord, it is my great fortune that you have blessed me with this sacred union." Mahadev and Mother Parvati blessed them both. "May your union become an example of devotion and love throughout creation. Your story shall be told for ages to come." From that moment onward, the love of Nandi and Suyasha was no longer merely that of husband and wife. It became a symbol of the union of the soul and the Supreme. Even today, when devotees pray before Nandi, within their devotion one can glimpse together the faith of Suyasha and the steadfast loyalty of Nandi. Mount Kailash, where peace, meditation, and devotion forever reigned, where Mahadev sat absorbed in deep meditation, Mother Parvati sat lovingly beside him, and Nandi remained immersed in unwavering devotion at Shiva's feet. But at that very moment, Ravana, the lord of Lanka, filled with pride in his strength and knowledge, approached Kailash. His purpose was clear: to display his power before Mahadev. Laughing arrogantly, he declared, "I am Ravana, the conqueror of the three worlds. I shall carry Shiva himself to Lanka, so that he may become my lord." Ravana spread his 20 arms and attempted to lift the entire Mount Kailash. The earth began to sway, the sky trembled, and the devas were filled with fear. At the gates of Kailash stood Nandi, calm, yet filled with blazing power. In a thunderous voice, he declared, "Ravana, stop! This is no ordinary mountain. This is the very abode of Mahadev. The power you are trying to shake is the center of the universe." Ravana replied with arrogance, "I am the lord of Lanka, Nandi. No one can stop me, not gods, not demons, nor you." Nandi opened his vast eyes. From them burst forth a divine radiance that blinded Ravana for a few moments. Then Nandi spoke. "You have been blinded by your ego, Ravana. Today perhaps no one stops you, but remember this. Because of this very arrogance, you shall meet total destruction at the hands of a monkey." Ravana burst into angry laughter. "Ha! A monkey! Will a mere monkey destroy me? Ha! Ha! Ha!" But Nandi replied calmly, "Yes, That monkey shall be a fragment of Shiva himself, within whose heart devotion, strength, and Dharma shall unite. Your Lanka shall be reduced to ashes by his flames. Ages later, when Hanuman reached Lanka in search of Mother Sita, Nandi's curse came true. The fire ignited on Hanuman's tail burned the entire city of Lanka. Ravana's golden capital was turned to ashes. The Devas proclaimed, "Behold, Nandi's words are never false. The end of ego always comes in the fire of Dharma."
Time continued to pass. One day, a group of demons came to attack Mount Kailash. Their intention was clear: to destroy the Shivalinga and desecrate divine power. At that time, Mahadev was absorbed in meditation, and Mother Parvati was immersed in deep samadhi. At the gates of Kailash, Nandi stood firm as the guardian of Dharma. The demons laughed and said, "What harm can this bull do to us?" Nandi opened his eyes. There was fire in his gaze, and sky-like strength within his body. With a single roar, the heavens echoed, "O unrighteous ones, take even one step toward Kailash, and this Nandi shall make you taste destruction." The demons attacked, but Nandi hurled some into the sky with his horns, flung others across mountains with a single strike of his tail, and crushed some into the earth beneath the blows of his hooves. The blood of the demons fell upon the land of Kailash, yet from that blood sprouted bilva leaves, as if Shiva himself had declared, "Even where Nandi fights, Dharma takes root." Within moments, the entire demon army was destroyed. Kailash returned to silence. Then Mahadev opened his eyes and said, "My child Nandi, you have not only protected Kailash, you have also preserved the sanctity of Dharma." Mother Parvati smiled and said, "From this day onward, you shall be known as Nandi, the protector of Dharma, ever vigilant to safeguard the balance of creation." Nandi bowed his head at Shiva's feet and said, "O Lord, by your grace alone do I exist. The power of my horns, my devotion, all belong to your name." Mahadev blessed him. "Your name shall remain immortal through all ages. Wherever the protection of Dharma is required, your name shall be spoken with reverence." From that day onward, Nandi became not only Shiva's vehicle, but the eternal guardian of Dharma, whose roar is a warning to the unrighteous and a promise of protection to devotees. Snow-covered Mount Kailash, a gentle breeze flows. Shiva and Parvati are absorbed in meditation. Yet within this very peace, a dark shadow descends upon the earth. It is the same asura, Vidyun Mali, a descendant of Tripurasura. Whenever the roots of Dharma begin to tremble in the world, some asura becomes intoxicated with ego, and at that moment Nandi rises as the protector of Dharma. Vidyun Mali advances toward Kailash with his massive army. His roar makes the mountain peaks tremble. "Today Kailash shall be mine. No one can stop me." At that time, Mahadev was in deep meditation, and Mother Parvati called to Nandi, "Nandi, this is the time of Dharma's trial. The protection of Kailash rests in your hands." Nandi bowed and replied, "Mother, as long as breath remains within me, no one shall touch this sacred abode." The skies resounded, "Har Har Mahadev!" Nandi expanded his form. Radiant light burst forth from his body, the body of a bull, yet upon his face shone divine brilliance. In his eyes burned the fire of dissolution. Within his heart flowed the cool, soothing light of devotion. Vidyun Mali used illusion to cloak the sky in darkness. Nandi roared, "Asura, for disturbing the peace of Kailasha, you shall pay the price with your blood." With a single strike of his tail, 100 demons were hurled far away. With his horns, he shattered mountain rocks and flung them upon the enemy army. The roars of the asuras turned into cries of despair. Vidyun Mali released a flaming arrow. Nandi remembered Shiva and cried, "Victory to Bholenath!" With a mighty roar, Nandi shattered the fiery weapon with the power of the trident. Then, lifting Vidyun Mali upon his horns, he hurled him to the foot of the mountain. The earth split open, and the asura met his end. Mahadev appeared and said, "Nandi, you have not only protected Kailasha, you have also preserved the glory of Dharma. From this day forward, you shall be called the invincible guardian of Kailasha. As long as this creation exists, you shall remain the gatekeeper of my abode." Nandi folded his hands and replied, "O Lord, this itself is my greatest fortune." Time continued to pass. Now, Nandi stands steady at the entrance of Shiva's abode, white, serene, divine, eyes closed, yet his mind eternally immersed in Shiva. Every devotee who enters Kailasha first beholds Nandi, for he alone is the first bridge to Shiva. Devotees who come from far and wide bend near Nandi's ears and softly whisper their wishes. It is said that when devotees speak their desires into Nandi's ears, Nandi carries them directly to the feet of Mahadev. From his heart flows a wave of devotion that merges into Shiva's meditation and becomes the devotee's prayer. For Nandi is not merely Shiva's guardian, but the source of devotion, power, and faith. One who bows at his feet automatically receives the blessings of Bholenath. In the stillness of Kailasha, one who is unwavering, fearless, eternally surrendered, that is Nandi, the eternal symbol of devotion, service, and protection. For Nandi, there is neither day nor night, neither desire nor fear. There is only one purpose, the service of Shiva and Parvati. Even today, Nandi is not merely a guardian. He is the path of devotion, the form of service, and an inspiration for all who wish to remain loyal to their chosen deity. Nandi teaches us that true devotion seeks no reward. It is surrender, silent, profound, and filled with love. This story of Nandi is not merely a Purana, but a lamp of devotion, one that should be lit in every heart. Nandi teaches us that when devotion is pure, it transforms into service, and when service is performed with loyalty, it becomes immortality. The message of this tale is simple. There is no ego in devotion, only surrender. Strength lies in humility, and love is the bridge that leads us to God. Victory to Nandi Maharaj, victory to Bholenath, Har Har Mahadev. If you liked this story, like, share and subscribe, and join us for many more such divine stories.